this is a really, it's an incredible roster. I mean, we could talk about NRG's accolades all day long. The reality of it is that they still need to win this game against the Poppies or their season's done.
And we've seen them have a lot of priorities here in these picks and bans so far. Like NRG have seen them make it a point to make sure Ratatoskr doesn't get into this game as a focus towards onto Poppies. They've really made sure that they've had a specific game plan. Do you want to see anything shift up in particular?
I mean, it's interesting to me that the Poppies decide to take second pick here instead of the first pick. The losing team gets to choose, and so I really would have. I was expecting Poppies to take first pick and try and get that soul away from Yammyn and for MrNazer, but them going for second pick is interesting to me. What are they going to allow NRG to have? The AMC ban from NRG is exactly the same as they had in game number 2 instead of that first pick position that they used in game 1.
But if we zoom out a bit aggro here and take a look at a big picture, where do you want to see Poppies have the pressure in this game? What role should they prioritize? Mid.
I think that when you get MrNazer ahead, he's able to make big plays and has done so pretty consistently for the Poppies. When he's behind, mid lane, all mid laners from behind feel really, really lackluster.
Yeah.
Warchi was behind that game. Didn't lose it, horribly. Was able to hold his own against emilitoo. Coming into this set, I probably would have said Warchi because then if you're keeping the lead out of emilitoo's hands,
or even just watching game 1.
Exactly. But I really think that prioritizing that mid lane for Poppies is going to be key.
And that's what we've seen here from NRG. They're doing just what we've seen them do all set long. First game, they take the Musin Cobb. Second game, they ban it. Now they ban it away. They're really worried about it. But instead of Soul, they take Osiris. Now Poppies can take Soul.
Yeah, very, very curious as to why NRG goes with the Osiris first pick here. And right back to that Cabrakan for the Poppies. They banned away the RTO this time, not allowing iRaffer to pick it up. I'm very surprised that NRG just didn't snap lock the Soul. I mean, it worked so beautifully in game 2.
This is already starting to feel like shades of game 1, at least for Poppies with Soul and Cabrakan on their side. But we just saw this. Raijin's been banned away all set so long, too. Now they can get that onto Yammyn and let emilitoo have that Ullr, which you've seen him have a big impact on so far.
This is probably going to be Hui for the Poppies. They've been picking that right there all set long. And Warchi played so well in game 1. Game 2, not as great, but still completely fine with this Hui pickup for Poppies in this slot. Raijin being banned away for the most part. This is why NRG doesn't first pick that Soul in order to make Poppies make a choice between Raijin and Soul. Poppies pick Soul, which I think is the better call here, and then they take Raijin for themselves. So NRG going with a little bit, if you leave 2 mid laners open, you give Poppies their choice, and then you get the better one while still getting a priority pick in that first slot, ends up working out fairly nicely for them. But it's still a bit of a risk in my mind because MrNazer looks like a completely different player on that Soul.
NRG have a plan for the support position this time for iRaffer. They ban away Ganesh and Fafnir here in the second phase, and Poppies do the bans they've done every second time here with the Sylvanas Sobek, and they pull away Khepri. So maybe like a Gab for NRG, but iRaffer, I feel like he wants something more aggressive.
Bacchus, you were right.
Didn't even get to say it. Yeah.
I think Khepri was a potential pick there for NRG, and Poppies recognizing that and stripping it away. Very, very smart. This is just a support that can get out of Cabrakan. That's the big difference for me with this time around.
Thanatos picked in.
Wow.
That's likely going to be for adapting to take into the jungle, and that's with Camazotz still available on the board. Adapting's played it all set. Why the switch after it finally worked?
Because it gets this very similar composition for the Poppies. He wasn't able to do anything with Camazotz. Remember, he was wrapping around the backside and found a bunch of people full HP.
Warchi was also really big that game, though.
Warchi was very big, but this allows him to silence out what Cabrakan wants to do with the Tremors, silence out Khepri instead of right before that revive can come off, as well as find the execute through the Khepri ultimate itself. Remember that Scarab's Blessing, you're not going to save someone from hovering death if they're in execute range, so that's a nice counter pick here for NRG.
But this is a scary draft, though, if I'm on the Poppies team. There's no one on NRG that I feel comfortable fighting. It feels like just about everyone on their team can kill you at this point.
Yeah.
Poppies choosing to go with Bellona here with Kakalin still available. I think even Erlang Shen, we haven't really seen him picked or banned yet this set either, and they go with Bellona.
Interesting. Those gods I think would have fit well here, but Bellona a little bit more team fight oriented. Again, that's where the Poppies seem to really want to make their hay is in these team fights. And Osiris, yes, this was the old matchup that we saw for a lot of this season was Osiris versus Bellona.
Yeah.
And Osiris seems to have this matchup pretty well in his favor.
Now, could Bellona possibly be for emilitoo as a way to try and slow down him on this Ullr?
Potentially, yes. I mean, all warriors make ADC's lives hell. I mean, that's just what they do. But Bellona does it to an extra level for sure. I mean, you're talking disarm, you're talking that shield bash with the absorb and return blocks on the one for Bellona. Those sorts of things do make life very difficult for emilitoo.
So far, all the picks going about where we expected them to, so nothing too crazy as far as that's concerned. Dheylo going to get this Cabrakan in the jungle. One more try again. He likes this Bumba's Mask into the mark of the Vanguard start, so that's what he's looking for.
Now this is risky because Adapting went for Blink instead of Purification Beads. Plenty of CC for the Poppies in this game, so he needs to be very wary with his positioning. iRaffer also going for a Blink instead of those sprints that worked out so well for them in Game 2. No Shell either so far for NRG.
And if I'm watching this game, my eyes are going to be entirely on Adapting here on this Thanatos. I really think he's going to need to have an impact for him here early for this game to go well for him. That's what the difference between Game 2 and Game 1 was for me, was who was in control of the game early.
I completely agree with you. Adapting is the swing player in this one. His execution.
Good stun.
Oh, nice, but a double bounce from Warchi means that emilitoo's got to dodge, but the arrows from the archers still keeping emilitoo in the lead.
It looked like Warchi wasn't quite sure what he wanted to do. I think he wanted to keep fighting, but as you pointed out, recognize he was taking minion aggro. We saw him kind of spin like 3 times. I think he wasn't quite sure whether to keep moving or backing off. In the end, emilitoo gets the better of the trade. Now he's the one with the pressure in that lane, and iRaffer looking actually to come over and maybe stop him at this red buff.
Well, he stole away the red buff of the Poppies earlier on, so he's going to look for the flop onto it, but a little bit too early. But this does buy Yammyn enough time to clear the wave and come into this fight.
Now Yammyn smacking into MrNazer's back, who's happy to just turn and try and put some return damage on him. I think we actually see a blink come out from Dheylo, and Adapting with the counter blink in from Thanatos, trying to take down MrNazer early, but not able to find any damage.
It did get the Aegis out from MrNazer, who used it in reaction to the blink sound, so it ends up being a win overall for NRG. emilitoo rotating into this fight was absolutely key for the Poppies deciding to back up. Also the fact that Adapting was missing. That's an easy fight where it looks like the Poppies are in the lead. I mean, Yammyn's very low. MrNazer's got the auto attacks on Soul. His heat was up. That's a good opportunity for MrNazer and Dheylo to maybe blink in with the Cabrakan stun and try and kill Yammyn, but that's exactly what NRG wanted. Good discipline from the Poppies.
But aggro, I mean, like, your season 4 is on the line here, right? This is win or go home. NRG pick Thanatos, and they pick Bacchus, and they pick Ullr. NRG feel real confident in these picks. If they don't win this game against Poppies, they're done. It's the same for Poppies here, and this is where the comp they choose to go with. They got a lot of faith in these picks to work out.
Look, if you've ever talked to any of these NRG guys, confidence is one thing they never, ever lack. These guys feel like they are still the best team, that they can beat any team with any picks, and that's what's allowed them to be so dominant for so long. I mean, that confidence in yourself is really important in these competitive environments where even at times where you aren't playing like the best team in the world, to have that mentality of we can still beat anyone, anytime with anything is critical for you.
And that's what we're seeing here from NRG with everything coming down to this game. Game 3 against Poppies in the Gauntlet, with Valence waiting in the wings for him in the next set. They're going to have to make this Bacchus and this Thanatos work out for them. And if things continue like this, where they're relatively even, I got to think that favors Poppies. But aggro, I mean, what do you think on that?
I mean, the Poppies have a really good team fighting composition once again. NRG is, again, a little bit more single target, but less so than they were in Game 1. You've got the Taiko drums from Yammyn, the Raijin as well. That's going to spread throughout the team fight. emilitoo, purely single target, but most hunters are. That's not a big deal. Adapting single target is a little bit worrying, but iRaffer can hit a multi-man belly flop, can hit a lot of people with that Intoxicate, which covers a big area. So if Poppies want to try and fight NRG in these tiny corridors like they did in Game 1, it will be a little bit harder for them to come out on top as cleanly as they were.
What they also did successfully in Game 1 was punish iRaffer. That's going to be a lot harder with him on Bacchus with that belly flop. He is just way more safe than Ares was in Game 1. I still think a good thing to do against Bacchus is try and keep him down, but it's pretty tough.
I mean, if iRaffer goes for the blink initiation or jumps in with the initiation, then Dheylo's going to try and lock him in right away. And that's why we might see the blink here for iRaffer, so that he can blink in, Intoxicate, and then hold that belly flop in order to get away from that Cabrakan ultimate.
NRG once again going to invade this red buff. As you pointed out, iRaffer's able to take it away last time, but this time Dheylo's here looping around the back. emilitoo's the call. Does get the stun off, forces out his beads early on. Dracomarino took a good bit of damage from Adapting in the back as Yammyn rotates in to try and help. Adapting has to go up into the ultimate, and he's looking just to back off. So the invade didn't quite work this time, as Poppies had a stronger response.
It's because I think Adapting realized that he's in the middle of 4 people, and with no purification beads, it's not going to take him long to fall. And even if he does get someone low without use of that ultimate, that Khepri ult's going to be waiting for him. So good idea from NRG to try and get in there and steal away that red buff again. You do at least chase out the sprint from Dracomarino, but you lose your ultimate for Adapting and emilitoo's beads for it.
And if I'm the Poppies, I'm not trying to have anyone taking any of those 1v1, 2v2 skirmishes where the Poppies composition shines for me is going to be in the 5v5.
You can take the 3v3 against say adapting if you could try and blow him up before his beads come out. I mean, that is a big risk to not have any purification beads for the first 12 levels, but as long as adapting can stay safe and try and bait out bad initiations, I agree with you. This 5v5 team composition is probably going to end up working out better for Poppies.
Right now, NRG Esports are looking to use these early game damage-dealing characters that they have. And it's not to say that they're going to just vanish when we get to the late game, but someone like Bacchus, someone like Adapting, they have so much extra damage early just off their base abilities that they're looking to exert that influence in the jungle. That's why we saw them up there. Look at the warding they've committed to as well. It's really aggressive up into Poppy's side. They want to make sure they know where they are so they can go up and do those invades.
Certainly, the Poppy's late game is better than the NRG's. I mean, you look at even in the mid lane, Soul is going to be really impactful on the late stages. Raijin can be as well, but yeah, I'd favor Soul in that particular situation. And then Huyi in the late game compared to Ullr, give me Huyi for sure. Those are the two that really stand out to me as being better in the later stages. I mean, you look at early game gods, Thanatos, Osiris, Raijin, yeah, that's all of them. I mean, Bacchus in the late game is really, really good because knockups are so important, and you could die off of one knockup in the late game, but it's not easy.
Blink in from Dheylo and emilitoo. Suns rain down on top. They kept him chained in. emilitoo realized he couldn't get out. Just looks to return damage. First blood on the Warchi, and again, shades of game one.
I really like that gank call from Dheylo. I mean, look at how many wars on the left side of the map, but they had all just fallen off. It used to be all blue. Now there's a little bit of red on that top side around the Gold Fury, so Poppies utilize that and find the gank on emilitoo, whose purification beads were still down from that failed red buff invade.
And that's not something we see a lot. Like the 6-minute, 45-second jungle gank on the duo. This split, you kind of are on an island over there in duo lane, so it's a really strong gank from Dheylo to show some pressure and make things a little harder for emilitoo this game.
Adapting, needs to be careful here because Rapper's already used the jump. Dheylo still has the ultimate, but instead pushing forward, they're going to back up with the threat of Adapting's ultimate. That could have been an engagement possibility if they had known the iRaffer's jump was down, and they should have, because there's a ward on the bottom right-hand side. Little surprised that Poppies don't go in and try and find that kill onto iRaffer, but that sort of area where you're grouped up with 3 people, you're going to get triple hit by Intoxicate, and then if Yammyn can pop up into those Tycho drums, that's plenty of damage in CC. Remember, this early game is where NRG wants to fight you, so that was a risky engage for the Poppies. Had potential to be a good fight, but also could have gone NRG's way. Can't fault them for deciding to play it safe.
Yeah, I definitely think they had a lot more to lose than gain there in that last engagement. So if Poppies want to play a little bit safer early, I think that's not a horrible call that they're making. But the more they can force Adapting to use these Thanatos ultimates defensively, the better for Poppies. That's an ultimate now that he's going to have to wait a little bit longer before he can use to try and help make any kind of gank happen.
But he's already level 9, which means that those purification beads only 3 levels away, and he's going to need those in this matchup. If NRG, if the Poppies can't take advantage of that lack of purification beads in the early game, that's going to be a big win for Adapting.
Creed continuing to push in on the maniaK, but at this point, especially, you know, with those layers starting to fall off there for maniaK, he's okay, able to handle a little bit more pressure. They do get the oracles, and Warchi going to have to run away as there's a big rotation from NRG on the left-hand side. They got 4 members in this dual side jungle. Not going to pull anything, just going to take those oracles and see if they can find anything on the Warchi. Adapting's lurking.
I like that idea, though, from Yammyn to try and find him with the mez, and Adapting has that purification beads. Warchi does not have vision of Adapting right now, but uses the ricochet to close the gap, making sure that he doesn't have to step up quite as far to clear that wave. Good use of the duo lane wall.
In response, though, Dheylo's hanging around in solo lane. maniaK hanging out at his tower line, though, so no real possibility for Dheylo to make anything happen over there. Instead, iRaffer and Adapting going to come back over here, get these back harpies, and look to keep moving. I know we've been saying it, that NRG's the one we feel like need to make the move here. What side of the map do you want to see him make that happen?
Well, maniaK's working towards a mystical mail, so he's a little bit weaker at this stage of the game compared to Creed's Gladiator Shield, but as soon as that mystical mail is done, it could be the right-hand side that's the better push down for NRG. I mean, Yammyn, you want to fight around him in the early game as soon as he finishes off the pen boots. We're about 2 minutes away, 2 to 3 minutes from NRG being in a spot where they've completed their big power spike items. Devourer's Gauntlet's done for emilitoo. Needs to work on the stacks, but at least they're done. And look how far behind he is to Warchi stacks, just the opposite of what we saw in Game 2.
Adapting, rotating over, so Creed, rightfully so, backing up, getting some pings out, I believe, to let him know that danger was coming his way. Instead, going to back up, and he should be all right. He's got Dracomarino here to help out, but again, against Thanatos, that revive is a lot less strong.
Only if you're in execute range, though. I mean, a lot of what Adapting is going to want to do is use Hovering Death as an initiation tool to find the stun and death scythe onto someone who's around 50% HP in the early game, and Dracomarino can shut that down with that Scarab's Blessing.
Now rotating back over to mid. Dheylo once again was showing some presence over here on this left side of the map. NRG have that ward for emilitoo down there, so I think they saw him. But I think that that's strong enough for Dheylo. Show himself over there on that dual lane side and keep emilitoo honest.
Well, he clearly doesn't. He's not too worried about it because he's poking down Warchi pretty easily, despite being about 30 stacks behind, more than 30 stacks behind Warchi on the Devourer's Gauntlets.
The poke is probably going to favor Ullr, though, in that lane. That Hail of Arrow is just strong for that. NRG, again, looking to be aggressive. Dheylo, he might be in trouble. Blink from Adapting, and the blink from Raffer uses the wall to try and keep Yammyn out. And that actually was perfect, but it's just too much damage in Adapting and Raffer alone, having to use those tremors to try and lock him down, but Adapting gets the first kill for NRG.
And that's just Dheylo being alone in that jungle all by himself.
He's in his own jungle!
Yeah, but everyone else had backed from the Poppies, which meant that no help was coming. Good recognition from NRG. I like the idea there from Dheylo to block off Yammyn, but he still was able to find that percussive storm through the wall in a perfect flop by Raffer.
And the double blink really was a problem for him too. Yes, he correctly responded to Adapting's blink with the stun, but Raffer just blinks in too, and there was no way for him to respond to that one. Now they successfully invade the speed buff to go along with their kill, and NRG pulling up a little bit ahead now closer to about 800 gold.
And Dheylo's down about 100 XP per minute right now to Adapting. He's down a full 2 levels, and that's a problem because you don't want to allow this Thanatos to get rolling, but more importantly, you want Dheylo to be an impact in these fights.
Poppies going for the Gold Fury now. This call is a strong one. Yammyn actually has his ultimate available, but it's just not in time. Poppies steal away the Gold Fury. That's a huge win for them.
Dracomarino needs to be careful with maniaKK rotating into this mid lane, but an absolute win for the Poppies. Dheylo caught out once more, but this fight might be a little better because Warchi's going to drop the Suns right on top of Adapting, and he's going to fall.
Big kill. Scarab's Blessing comes out on the Dheylo to try and keep him alive. Stun on the maniaKK to keep him from going in on a Warchi, but Poppies, good hit over the wall from maniaKK. See you later, Dheylo, as they at least get a return kill.
Really nice play there by maniaKK, knowing exactly how much damage he can take. Never felt like he was in too much danger of dying there. They lose Adapting, but pick up Dheylo in response. And remember, that's important to keep Dheylo down. He's still only level 10 and is working what's probably going to be a mystical mail. So sitting on that steel mail too is a really, really big loss in damage for at least for a while for Dheylo.
And I don't think we can overstate how important that Gold Fury was for them to try and give themselves some kind of early lead. But I like this call too. They don't have the damage for it, but initially no one was responding. Now though, Raffer's here and they're going to be able to get him to move off of it. But initially they were all alone on that.
Right. MrNazer needs to be a little bit more careful. Everyone else coming in decides to hold the purification beads there, and rightfully so on the Belch, but a little surprised that Raffer didn't want to play aggressive himself with the flop in. NRG decides instead that they just want to farm up their own side of the map with both buffs due to respawn. It's just more worth it to pick up your own buffs instead of trying to force an engagement.
And Poppies are looking really good here in Game 3 aggro. I don't think that we can give them too much credit here going up against NRG, who are 5 of some of the best players in the world, if not the best players in the world, in their respective roles. These guys are playing lights out. It's not like NRG are playing poorly this set either. Poppies are just hanging with them, keeping this game even, if not having a little bit of a lead, which NRG kind of took back a little bit.
I agree with you. I mean, the Poppies really came to play today, and I think a lot of people, myself included, just kind of counted them out because it's NRG and the Poppies, and of course that NRG's going to win, but we're here in Game 3, and 14 minutes in, this game is really, really close. And remember, this is with an early game composition for NRG.
NRG going to need to get something better than this. At 14 minutes, probably wanting to be further ahead than this at this point in the game by now. I'm sure they would like to have run away with it, but I mean, certainly they expect it to be further ahead than they are right now. I do want to give credit to NRG's experience at the game. Does go late. That's probably a little bit ahead of the Poppies, but they're going to have to fight through their composition. Dash is down, though. Dracomarino getting taunted back in. Raffer with the belly flop and the Intoxicate to follow up right away up into the air and down, but Dracomarino lives through it. That's going to be pretty big. Now Creed's here and Warchi as well. maniaKK continues to aggress and does eventually get the kill onto Dracomarino, but now he's really too far forward.
Nice juke there by iRaffer, but he's still taking a lot of damage. Bludgeon was off the mark, though, from Creed, which means he's going to be able to escape. That was almost disastrous for NRG because someone actually popped the Scarab's Blessing instead of just letting Adapting find the execute. That's why Draco lived for so long. It forced maniaKK to use his ultimate aggressively. It ends up being okay because Draco still falls. NRG don't lose anyone, but they don't find the speed buff invade successfully, in due part because of how much they had to invest to finish off Dracomarino.
And I feel like that should have been a little bit more there from Poppies on the back end of that. maniaKK had to come up really far forward to help secure that kill, and they had the collapse on him. They had the strong positioning, not able to find any return kills, so NRG able to get away with that one, but as he stated, they definitely had to fight a little bit harder for it than they wanted.
Well, keep in mind that maniaKK's level 15, and he's got Hide of the Urchin 2, a very, very cost-efficient item already between the health, the mana, and all prots, magical and physical. You're pretty tanky, especially with that mystical mail, so you've got plenty of tankiness, as well as you have to factor in that when you use that Lord of the Afterlife, you're immediately putting yourself in that full ghost form for Osiris, which means he's getting 16% physical damage mitigation and 8% magical damage mitigation. So he is really, really difficult to bring down, even if he's diving really deep into the backline.
And we saw Warchi rotate over and have a big impact in that one when he put down the Suns in good positioning, make life a little bit harder for NRG Esports. This is a part of what worked so well for them in Game 1 was Warchi being big on this Hu-Yi. Yammyn convinced the Taiko drums here, and they do steal away the Portal Demon. Dheylo blinks in, only able to settle for iRaffer, who I believe still has the belly flop available. He doesn't even need it, just walks on out.
And that's, again, Dheylo just doesn't have a lot of damage right now. He went for this tanky build with the Mystical Mail, and his ability's not going to really hurt iRaffer too much. Really just there for the setup, and he doesn't have a lot of damage set up for until the later stages, really waiting until MrNazer finishes off what's probably going to be a Demonic Grip, and Warchi starts getting a little bit closer towards that Deathbringer.
But this is why the Gold Fury that Poppies got was so important. Even though we've seen NRG, win a fight or at least get a pick, we see them take the Portal Demon, they're only up about 1,000 gold here at 16 minutes, getting close to 17 minutes. That's because Poppies took that Gold Fury.
Oh no, they're looking for another one, and emilitoo thought about backing, but decided not to because he knew Gold Fury was about to respawn.
Coming though, they're coming, they're looping around the back. Poppies recognize that they do end up giving it up, trying to send a ricochet through, not able to find anything, but I don't think they're done just yet. Creed's the one that gets belly flopped on, adapting up in the air, but not looking to land anyone, just looking to get out, and he does.
That's a good win for the Poppies to bring down that hovering death. So important. That means that Dracomarino's ultimate just got a lot more value for the next few moments, but adapting already has a Jotun's Wrath, so 20% CDR means it's not going to be down for long.
Portal Demon back up, but this time maniaKK made the rotation a little bit faster than Dheylo was. Rally here comes landing down on top of Yammyn. He's forced to blink away. I think he had to use his beads to get out of there too, so he won't have those available. iRaffer gets the belly flop, but now he doesn't have a jump available. Lockdown. Warchi cleans that one up. Taiko drums is back available, but doesn't really get the impact that they're looking for. Adapting in the backline and hovering death doesn't find the kill. emilitoo is able to get Dheylo, and they're forced to back.
emilitoo still so healthy, low on mana, but he's not too worried about that. Nice positioning there to get away from that Stellar Burst, and maniaKK has done so much work in this team fight. Being in the backline took very little damage and keeps everyone away from Yammyn and the rest of the chase.
These fights are so close, aggro. It's really coming down to it here for the Poppies. Can they show up? Adapting, loop around the back. It doesn't have enough to clean up Warchi. He ends up getting the kill. Creed able to find one as well, even though maniaKK returned to the Warchi. Now Creed's in trouble. It ends up being a 2 for 2, just when things are looking good for Poppies, and the stronger positioning here goes to NRG.
maniaKK's still healthy enough to continue this fight, though. Dracomarino gonna look for the root in the mid lane, but can't quite find it, so MrNazer gonna back up anyways. Really close fight there, absolutely. Yammyn having the purification beads down means that he's going to be a focus for the Poppies for the next minute plus, about a minute and a half until those beads are up. MrNazer just got forced out of that fight so early. maniaKK with big damage onto the mid lane mage right away. And Warchi was able to kind of free cast for a while on that team fight, and that's why it went well for Poppies right off the bat. But emilitoo, no one was really looking at him. He was low on mana, but still has those auto attacks. And with the Executioner done, with the Devourer's Gauntlet completely stacked, didn't take him long to shred through the Poppies.
Gold Fury being started up now by NRG as emilitoo came out of that last fight looking good. maniaKK's here. MrNazer might be in trouble, needs that to Zapparate for him to try and get away. He's got Dracomarino here with him. Dracomarino kind of moves a little bit away from him, though, and MrNazer gets blown up. Adapting gets credit for that one. Now Dracomarino going to be the call, and this was the fight that NRG needed. Opening up the Gold Fury down to half health, and Warchi and Creed the only ones around.
No one going to be able to steal this one away. NRG with a critical Gold Fury, their first of this game 3.
Such an important goal fear that they were able to get. Now Dheylo's the one that could be in trouble. Belly flop knocks him up. Lord of the Afterlife lands, and Yammyn cleans that one up, no problem. Adapting, looking to land on the Warchi that jumps it up to keep him safe, and NRG ready to try and use this early game comp to break the game open.
This is still early enough where this composition is really, really difficult to handle for NRG. Now all of a sudden, what was an even game is 4,500 basically in the lead for NRG, and they're looking for more as they're going to try and push down this tier 1 on the right-hand side. That's where that inexperience comes to really shine. Poppies sent 2 members to try and check a Gold Fury, where there's 4 members there for NRG. They lose 2 and the Gold Fury right away.
Creed and Warchi coming up really far once again with 4 members of NRG here in a very weak tier 1 tower is their only defense. They are able to get away this time, so they'll be okay, but aggro, I don't know who it is on the Poppies, who's their shot caller, their leader, whatever. There needs to be a calm voice cutting through the chaos right now. We've got the late game comp. This is it for our split lives at this point. Stick with NRG here in the Gauntlet. They can do it.
I mean, they've done it already. They won game 1 in very convincing fashion, and for the first 18 minutes or so of this game, it was very close. Now NRG needs to really make use of this lead. They've got themselves a substantial one. Dheylo has really been shut down on this Cabrakan. He's 0-4, 3 levels down to adapting. maniaKK has also had his best game of the set without a doubt. And who would have guessed on his signature Osiris? 4-0-4, top of the player damage charts by a significant margin. He's already got 6 stacks on his Hide of the Urchin. He is really, really tanky right now, and is still doing plenty of damage with the Mystical Mail and just the base damage in his kit.
And to me right now, this game kind of breaks down to the impact Warchi can have and the impact maniaKK can have as NRG steal away the Portal Team without any issue. Raffer already gets the stun off on a Dheylo. Belly flop hits 2 members. Lord of the Afterlife right behind it. Tycho Drums comes through, does get good damage, but actually it's NRG who have a lot of low health bars. Creed's sprint comes out. He wants to keep going on the emilitoo, but the egg is enough to keep Yammyn alive for the moment. Good kill from NRG on the emilitoo. Poppies looking to keep it going.
Really nice play there from Creed and MrNazer. Yammyn still vulnerable up in that Tycho Drums ultimate, so they immediately just engage on him off a beautiful engage from Raffer. Now it's Poppies trying to push down this tier 1 in mid. Remember, NRG has that Portal Demon, so Poppies can't afford to stick around too long because Yammyn and Adapter are coming back healthy.
And they did just loop back in through, but that's all Poppies needed was this tier 1 and to get that kill. Remember, all they got to do is slow down this composition from NRG and not let them run away with this game. You mentioned it already. It feels like the game is it's teetering on the edge right now. If NRG can get one more big objective, it might be out of Poppy's control, but as long as they can keep them slow, they can still fight in.
And it just comes back to the nature of these drafts where NRG has a lot of early pressure, a lot of early damage, and it does transition well into the late game. It's not like you've got a bunch of gods that if you hit 29 minutes, the game's over because you're not doing anything anymore. That's not the case for NRG whatsoever, but there is just more impact in the Poppies draft in the late game. Dheylo needs to get to the late game to get tankier because he is really not an issue for NRG right now at all. Now he's got a Void Stone, so that means he's going to be a little bit more resilient to Raffer and Yammyn's damage in the midst of that Tremors, and as he's just trying to get into the thick of things in the middle of these team fights. He's also picked up a Thorns to try and dissuade emilitoo from hitting him consistently, as well as Adapting, who has to worry about returning a lot of that Death Scythe damage to himself off of the Thorns. But still, this is a character in Cabrakan that needs to be at least a little bit closer to the enemies that he's hitting in the levels, because otherwise he's really pretty vulnerable.
Stun comes out in the maniaKK. I don't know if this is the target for you, Warchi. He is bringing him pretty low. Creed's here as well, gets the slow off. Tether's not to try and get the stun, as well as some additional protections. maniaKK gonna have to retreat after taking a good bit of damage, but we saw on this right-hand side the difference between the 5v5 fight, the one that just went well for them and they get the pick, versus 2 members walking into 4 at the Gold Fury.
Exactly, and that's why Poppies are willing to just push down that tier 1 and right, especially because that poke on a maniaKK was really relevant. Now NRG knows that they can't really engage until maniaKK is back. He had to go back to base, so instead of pushing up, going for that tier 2 with a split push sort of idea, they just kind of wait around for maniaKK to come back.
And this is what Poppies need to do again. Slow them down and force NRG into a situation where they can have the big team fight that their competition is going to thrive in. Bellona using her ultimate to create that area where everyone gets the increased protections. Dracomarino being able to get a revive on someone that's not about to be executed. And Warchi's Sons, they need those abilities happening in unison rather than letting Raffer knock up 2 into maniaKK into Adapting, and they win the 3v2.
And Creed has played really well so far this game. I know that he and his team won game 1, but I think this might be the best performance Creed has had so far in this set. He's been very impactful so far on this Bellona, but with Gold Fury respawning right now, maniaKK knows now that there's 2 members from the Poppies on the right-hand side. They need to get towards this Gold Fury.
Gold Fury already being pulled by emilitoo. Creed and Warchi are here, and this is exactly the fight they do not want to take, which is one where it's 5v2. Dracomarino, Dheylo, and the rest are rotating in. Stun comes out into Creed, isolated in. He gets the rally here off into Yammyn, who's already taken a really good chunk of damage. The wall actually keeps Creed away from following up with the damage, but Dheylo returns it back onto him. Yammyn falls early. maniaKK now the one in between 3 members.
But MrNazer's putting big damage on the backside. Nice Aegis to keep himself from that damage, but up into the in the sky, adapting to come down and bring down Nazer.
Such an important kill. Adapting was able to get onto Nazer, but Warchi goes in aggressively onto emilitoo. Yammyn and emilitoo, the 2 damage dealers, are the ones missing now for energy as Poppies turn back towards the Gold Fury. They still have Warchi here, and he can do plenty of damage. Only iRaffer is around, and he doesn't have the Intoxicate.
Good zone away from Creed. Poppy's going to get this Gold Fury. Beautiful engagement there, and that all becomes Creed is standing in the midst of everyone in that 5v2, where it's him and Warchi there saying, hey, don't do Gold Fury, please. And iRaffer misses the belly flop. emilitoo misses the axe, and those are key critical cooldowns that energy didn't have for whenever the Poppies ended up engaging. Adapting blinks into the backline and tries to bring down Warchi, but no one protecting Yammyn. Again, this is a composition that it's difficult to protect your backline with because you're incentivized to dive into the back of the enemy. iRaffer doesn't want to be peeling on Bacchus at least the beginning of the fight. He wants to make sure his Intoxicate gets value onto the squishier characters. Someone needs to be standing near Yammyn. He ended up dying there when he really didn't need to. I mean, yeah, he has to use his jump to get away, but he's still safe. Tries to stick around and use that ultimate for some utility in the team fight that ends up losing him his life.
And it was such important. You talked about how it was Creed there in that 2v2. That ultimately got onto Yammyn was what started all, set up a lot of return damage onto him. And as you said, he ends up kind of taking himself out there with some of that return damage from the Thorns. But in the end, now Poppy's the ones who've evened this game back out. Only about a 2,000 gold lead in Energy's favor as we approach the 27-minute mark. 5 members here to start up this Portal Demon. And Energy, they've got everyone here too, but not as aggressively positioned.
But Dheylo just had it back because of the poke put out by Yammyn. Wasn't even that much, but decided he needed to go back anyways because he wanted to finish off that high to the Nemean Lion. This is a power play opportunity for Energy.
And Poppies might need to let this Portal Demon happen. And in the backline goes iRaffer, gets the Intoxicate off. MrNazer already incredibly low. And who loves that? It's Adapting. Gets that gobbled up. See you later, MrNazer. maniaKK now with the Thorns pushing, establishing the front line. That's exactly what Poppies don't want to do. Let Energy have the numbers advantage.
Yeah, man, a good idea to just cancel the ultimate right away. Wanted to use it for the CC immunity just in case that Ricochet had hit from Warchi on the Hui because the Mark of the Golden Crow was placed onto Raijin. That Portal Demon defense is just undisciplined from the Poppies.
Yes.
Either Dheylo needs to stick around at about 2/3 HP and deal with the fact that he hasn't finished off that high to the Nemean Lion, or they need to give that up, or just go for poke, not going in with the Saporate trying to drop the ultimate when MrNazer doesn't have any relics available. That's asking to get picked off by Energy. They end up only losing MrNazer, but this is still a window of opportunity for Energy.
And it's a big one, too. Without MrNazer here, they don't have some of their best ways to contest this objective, some of their best AoE damage. iRaffer going to continue to be aggressive. Gets the knockup on Warchi, the most important target, and Warchi almost gets deleted. Scarab's Blessing came out on him. That's enough to keep him alive for the moment. iRaffer gets stunned out. That's enough for Poppies to back up, but Fire Giant is wide open.
Man, Warchi had all his relics. He just kind of let himself get stunned and knocked up there without using anything. Yeah, he holds on to his relics, but now he has to walk all the way back from base to try and defend this.
And now MrNazer is here, but one more time, iRaffer's just been a nuisance on this Bacchus. Gets the knockup. Creed actually returns to the rally here on emilitoo. At least forces his ultimates out as Adapting gets the kill onto him. Continuing to push forward as iRaffer. Look how far forward he is.
Dheylo with that Tremors, though. Everyone from Energy's low, and Warchi is back. He's looking for Yammyn with the Suns. Leap was still available, but Warchi has full HP, all his relics still up.
This is such an important fight. Poppies need to get something out of this one. iRaffer, good blink, gets him out of there.
No
he was
way.
dead to rights. Dheylo comes in with the blink, goes to the Tremor, but iRaffer has the jump up, so he's able to escape. Now Adapting, fighting against Warchi, but Warchi gives that one up. Poppies don't find any kills. Turn around.
No.
Turn around, Poppies.
Warchi's here. He's got to try and find it on iRaffer, but Warchi can't hit the stun or the ricochet, and iRaffer's going to be out of there. What an escape
That was hard to watch.
NRG's captain, and now it's the tier 2 for the focus for the moment, but Poppies can't do that. There's too many people coming back.
That was rough. Poppies really needed to either get a pick in that or come back and start up the Fire Giant. Instead, they chase kills iRaffer with the hero play, manages to get out of there. Now Yammyn up into the Taiko drums, looking for Warchi, able to pull him back into the damage from adapting. Instead, going for the auto attacks, but he gets picked up by Yammyn. 5v4 now in favor of NRG.
And now they're going right to the Fire Giant. What a collapse for the Poppies.
That was hard to watch.
That is that's brutal for them. The Fire Giant's still not down though. MrNazer coming in, has that stellar burst, but wastes the supernova looking for the kills when no one was even that low.
Instead, adapting up into the air, just deterring anyone from moving into this Fire Giant pit.
No
Creed
way!
jumps in!
He's
able to take the Fire Giant! Creed's got it! It's in his control now. Poppies backing off. It's not on a Warchi, but NRG just let Creed walk up aggro.
How do you let him just walk up? I mean, emilitoo's the only one in the Fire Giant adapting energy. Everyone else is looking for the fight, but Emil's still on fire. That's gotta be a uniform call for NRG. Instead, they split it, and what looked like it was gonna be their opportunity because of a lack of mechanics from the Poppies ends up the Poppies with the Fire Giant because of a great individual play from Creed.
And right now, it just looked all over the place from NRG. Adapting was up into the air. Looked like his idea was to try and keep them away from moving into the area, but instead, he doesn't really land on anyone. Creed walks in, takes it. Now Poppies have another moment where, as we said, they stop the pressure from NRG. It's so much harder for them to push against a Fire Giant team, and without that extra damage up against towers, it's not a ticking time bomb, but the later this goes, the more 5v5 Poppies do, the better it's in their favor.
And remember, this isn't just some regular season game where it's like, oh man, NRG might lose to the Poppies. The Poppies are trying to end the season of NRG, and they've got 4 members of Fire Giant at 30 minutes with a late game, with a team comp that does very well in the late game. This is anybody's game right now.
And these are execution errors that we're seeing here from both teams here, Aggro. That's what I'm seeing so far. It's not so much that either team is outplaying either one of the other ones, but these calls are not as clean as we're expecting from teams of this caliber, especially from NRG, as now Poppies are looking to group and make a call here into the T2 tower. They've got all 5 members here, and they're ready to push in, but again, Fire Giant on everyone but Warchi. Blink in from iRaffer, gets the Intoxicate. Warchi very low. Creed with the counter jump in. Supernova follows up immediately, but they don't get too much out of it. Now it's maniaKK, Lord of the Afterlife on the Warchi, who's low. Adapting crashes in, but it's Yammyn who gets the credit for it. Taiko jumps comes out as well as Creed continues to push.
Nice ultimate there from Dheylo with a 2-man stun as well, keeping iRaffer locked in those tremors, but just not quite enough damage from MrNazer quite yet, who now takes a tower shot or 2, and a great defense there from NRG. The staggered blinks in onto Warchi. He has been the focus all set long for NRG. He needs to be a little bit safer with his positioning. Gets hit with the blink Intoxicate, sure, but then he gets separated from the rest of the team where an adapting blinks on him. He jumps up and over the wall, but all that means is that he's out of escapes there. Plus, remember, his relics were down in the midst of that team fight because he used them earlier on the right-hand side trying to run away around this Fire Giant. So NRG recognized that and are able to pick off Warchi and just exposing those relic cooldowns.
But that's the same thing that happened with Warchi over here in around the Fire Giant. In between that path, as we started moving into Poppy's path of it where it narrows, he gets stunned out by the belch coming out from iRaffer, and that's where they set up a whole bunch of damage. He has to back, and they start to lose that team fight. Warchi's got to make sure he's watching his positioning in these engagements. iRaffer's going to be looking for him.
I mean, he's got the target on his back, no doubt about it. He needs to know that he is the primary focus for NRG, and you can use that against them because, again, MrNazer this time is on a hyper carry in the soul. If you can let him get free casting in these team fights, you're doing your job. As long as you can prolong the team fight long enough, put out as much damage as you can, and then eventually fall, that doesn't really matter because you're allowing MrNazer space in these team fights. It's not a problem if Warchi dies. It's a problem if Warchi dies without making NRG commit a lot to him.
Yeah, and so far, MrNazer's Supernovas, at least these last couple that we've seen, have not been tremendously impactful. So that's what MrNazer needs to be a little bit more mindful as well when he chooses to use those. This is a good call from Poppies, though. This Tier 2 tower is essentially freeform over on the right side, and we're 33 minutes in. They've all but evened up the gold at this point. It's like, what, maybe a 500 or so gold lead in favor of NRG. That means nothing 33 minutes into the game. What is much more impactful, though, the Fire Giant buff that's now falling off of the Poppies. 10 seconds they'll have for that, and then a minute until it respawns. That's going to be the fight aggro that I think is going to open this game.
This game is completely even now with this Fire Giant gone from the Poppies. I mean, Dheylo's a little bit behind in XP, but that isn't that impactful at this stage. This next Fire Giant fight is going to determine the Season 4 fate of NRG and the Poppies, which is just insane because both of these teams are so close in this Game 3.
This game is far closer than I think anybody could have called it, except maybe the Poppies. Poppies didn't come in here thinking they were going to lose from the way that they've been playing so far. This is what it's going to come down to, this last Fire Giant fight, and I need to see the discipline from Poppies in this fight. They need to show some patience and have a 5v5 grouping instead of letting Dheylo back and then taking that 4v5.
And this is a good opportunity for them because now Warchi has all of his relics up. He's full build, and emilitoo is not. emilitoo is still only level 19, has not been able to make that same impact that he had on the Freya with the Ullr this time around.
Or even with the Ullr in the last game. Yeah, he was having a much bigger impact that time too, or at least farming-wise he was. Now Poppies, Group of 3 is all 5 members of NRG are ready to start moving into the pit, but they're not going to go for it just yet.
iRaffer's got a power potion. He knows how important this fight really is. Spent that 500 gold for that extra bit of damage.
He wanted to make sure that he's able to come in aggressively. Look where adapting is in this team fight, looping around the left. He thinks better of it. That's actually good damage from the Stellar Burst that comes out onto a primary target, emilitoo, from MrNazer. So already a good impact. NRG, that's why we see him backing up. Creed goes in just for the moment, still looking for safe poke. This is just what Poppies need to be doing.
emilitoo is able to lifesteal off those back harpies, so that poke not quite as relevant. But look at where Dheylo is, looking for a blink engagement. He wants NRG to be the initiator so that he can immediately hop on top of Yammyn or emilitoo. He's been waiting for the blinks in from iRaffer to use his own blink as a counter blink opportunity.
MrNazer making sure he's got that heat stacked up. 3-man stun comes out for iRaffer, but he's taking damage from the Fire Giant in return. That gets him just a little bit lower and lowers the threshold if they successfully want to take down iRaffer. Adapting, look for the scythe, couldn't find it. Creed, Doe goes in on a 2. Yammyn has to use his speeds and has to blink away from him. iRaffer awful very low in the back line. Dheylo and Warchi going for him. They lock him down, but the stun shuts down the damage just for the moment.
Ooh.
Supernova comes through, gets the return kill, but they also lose Warchi. That's someone they really need.
MrNazer's at execute range, and Adapting's gonna find him with the hovering death on the backside. Stun onto him from Dheylo, but a 3-man jump in from Yammyn saves his jungler's life.
This fight has not been very focused so far from the Poppies. It took them too much to take out iRaffer as Dheylo gets deleted by maniaKK. So far, it's 3-for-1 in favor of NRG Esports. They're very low, but they don't have a problem backing and coming back for the Fire Giant.
And Warchi dies with both relics and his ultimate up. That just cannot happen in a late game fight. You just can't fall without utilizing every tool at your disposal in order to stay alive. We talked about it so much in this set, not just in this game. Warchi's the focus. Well, he's the focus, and he was able to bait out a lot and stay alive. If he's able to stay up longer, that means Adapting doesn't use hovering death onto MrNazer, instead tries to find Warchi with it to find the stun maybe. There's so many things that go differently if Warchi's able to stay alive.
And Dheylo and Warchi chase iRaffer on the back end of the team fight. They do get the good wall up, but iRaffer just turns around and stuns them. It holds them in place long enough, and as you said, Warchi holds onto those beads as NRG take that Fire Giant free and clear, that it's just too long, too much they commit on iRaffer, and they're able to return kill on him.
And again, it also was impactful that MrNazer needed to drop his own ultimate in order to confirm that kill onto iRaffer, because that ultimate has been huge in these fights in order to push back emilitoo and Yammyn. That initiation from Creed is picture perfect. If you can get 2 sets of beads onto the mid and AD scene to start off a team fight with something like with a low cooldown like Eagle's Rally, you have done your job right away as the initiator. That was a perfect initiation by Creed, but the way that team fight got staggered with Warchi stepping up a little bit too far, MrNazer still around the backside, around the Fire Giant pit. Warchi then forced into the speed buff to jump over it, puts him in a good position to kill iRaffer, but just couldn't quite find enough damage to do it. That was a very close team fight. Yeah, the Poppies ended up losing 3, but look at how low all of energy was. I mean, that was a team fight that nearly went the Poppies' way.
Instead, NRG are the ones that just barely edged out. Now, they have Fire Giant on all 5 members, and they've got plenty of Tier 2 towers to go down and take down. At this point in the game, the gold lead not going to be tremendous for them, so really the big difference between these two teams is going to be that Fire Giant. They want to clear a path to these Phoenixes. The good news for Poppies, though, is NRG probably can't end off this Fire Giant push if they defend correctly, so they'll still have another chance.
Losing Tier 2 towers here is not a big deal. I mean, the gold at this point is more or less irrelevant. It's more about exposing the Phoenixes anyways, and you're not too worried about losing towers anymore. You can end the game off of one push, whether you've got towers up or not, between a Soul and a Hu-Yi. So no sense in defending these Tier 2s. You don't want to throw yourself away on a harder defensive stand than it needs to be. Use the Phoenix. It does more damage. It stays alive alive longer. It's harder to run away from. It's a little bit more more advantageous for the defenders anyways. Smart choices by the Poppies to give up the towers. They're not very relevant, and just fight around the Phoenix.
And Poppies have a path. That Fire Giant that they stole, I think it was Creed who stole it for them, they got that into a tier 2 power on the solo side of the map. So if they do end up winning a fight or getting another Fire Giant, if it comes down to that, they've got a path to a Phoenix, then to the Titan. Yes, there are towers up. The Titan will be tanky, but if they win handily enough, they certainly still have a way back into this one. But it'd be hard not to say NRG are not in control.
MrNazer going for an ethereal staff as that last item. Last time he went for a hastened ring. This time recognizing that he needs a little bit more HP, a little bit more survivability, that some CCR on there as well. I think Book of the Dead probably would have been an equally good option. It gives you more effective HP because the 200 health from the item itself, but then that health shield from the passive. But ethereal staff provides a little bit more damage with the passive. So there's a trade-off there. MrNazer deciding that he would rather have a little bit of survivability and a little bit more damage than the other way around.
Now Poppies gonna have to defend over on the solo lane side of the map, as that's where NRG are looking to push. They got their minion wave with them, and they're trying to bring it on down. Poppies, they have a window here because Fire Giant only on NRG for 1 more minute for this engage.
Wow, this is going to be critical. iRaffer finds the stun onto Dracomarino. Not a lot of poke onto him, but Creed immediately gets the purification beats out from emilitoo, but Yammyn was able to hold on to his.
He landed right on the primary targets once again, so he won't have the rally here, but at least getting some cooldowns from the important members, as you said. Still looping around the backside though is Dheylo. He's waiting to blink in for his engage. emilitoo couldn't get the axe done on the Warchi that he wanted though.
He wants to find emilitoo because they might be able to kill him before the purification beats and end up wearing
good supernova! Good supernova coming out from MrNazer. That's exactly what they needed. Wall comes out from Dheylo. IRaffer, he's into the ground. Now emilitoo's the one who's low. He gets taken down by MrNazer. This is a huge fight for the Poppies against Fire Giant NRG. MrNazer coming up big.
Wow, you want to talk about an individual play in the biggest of moments, easily the biggest moment of MrNazer's professional career, and he ends up winning the fight by himself for the Poppies. That supernova, NRG didn't expect it, and I can't really blame him. I mean, who's going to just pull the trigger right away without any sort of setup? Apparently MrNazer will, and he tore through that team fight. Now Poppies have all of this tower push available. They can get a Phoenix here.
And Aggro, I don't know if there were 2 more important targets to get than iRaffer and emilitoo. Yes, Yammyn's doing a lot of damage, but iRaffer's been their initiation. emilitoo's been the follow-up for him all game long. Those won't be available for him. Poppies take the tier 2 without any trouble. Now they're going to go for this Phoenix. Adapting's here, maniaK's here, as is Yammyn, but the Phoenix falls no trouble. Poppies back up. This is what they need to take. They get the first Phoenix of the game.
Adapting still has that blink, but root hits for Dracomarino, which means that it's going to put him in combat. Has to wait 3 more seconds. NRG doesn't want to let the Poppies walk away for free here, but that mid Phoenix being down, Poppies the first one to expose the base.
That's such an important, not just that they're the first ones to expose the base, but now Fire Giant come back up in 5 seconds. They got to be really careful with the way that they back here, Aggro. So important.
That's why NRG has been chasing them out. They don't want to allow Poppies to back and heal up and get their mana back. A lot of players low on mana, as well as maybe buy an extra piece of a power potion or something like that. Now it's NRG who are standing around the Fire Giant. They can start it up.
And they recognize that Poppies did have to send some members back. This is what I was saying. Already down to half health. Warchi's here, though, as is MrNazer, who has that supernova available one more time. He came up big for him in the last engagement. Can he do it again? emilitoo keeps the Fire Giant leashed, and Poppies can't defend it. This is what I was saying with the backs.
Poppies needed to be a little bit more careful, but honestly, that's more NRG knowing that they can't allow Poppies to back. Poppies didn't hesitate very long. It was maybe a split second around that mid Phoenix where you saw them
if they back at all.
Step up. They needed to run back if they had to, but I agree with you. I think not backing probably ends up being the better call. Yeah, Dheylo was sitting on low mana. Creed was low mana as well, but you want to at least have those bodies there to prevent it. Now, on the other side of the coin, Poppies just won a team fight against NRG with Fire Giant, so it's not the end of the world to give up fire. I much prefer them to give up that fire than go in and suicide and try and steal it away. I like their call to decide to let it go, but it is tough to put yourself in a position where you have to let it go in the first place.
And that was a moment where I expect a high-end team like Obey, Dignitas, NRG to make a better call there, because it's a split second, it feels like, where as a unit you have to make the correct call. Who backs, who stays, how do we stay? in the end, NRG forced them to a bad position. Yes, they take the Fire Giant, and they're going to get this Gold Fury, not super impactful, but now NRG can try one more time to make this push, and if MrNazer doesn't get his big hero Supernova, I don't know if it goes as well this time.
I'll tell you what, everyone from NRG is going to be looking at Nazer this fight. I think that he might be the target now instead of Warchi, so he needs to be wary of that and be ready for the initiation, the blinks coming from iRaffer and adapting, the ultimates from them as well. MrNazer needs to be positioned carefully. He's allowed to get off that huge Supernova in that last Phoenix Siege because no one's been looking at him because Warchi's been the focus. I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore.
But that's enough by itself. If NRG have to worry about both of them equally, that's what worked in Game 1. That's what they need to work for him here. If Warchi and MrNazer are dual threats, it, like you said, it kind of doesn't matter who they go on as long as they can't do it cleanly and the rest of Poppies can follow up. That's what MrNazer needs to do, is make himself a target equal to Warchi.
NRG's been using this Fire Giant just as a stall tactic, really, to keep their mid-Phoenix safe and sound, not worry about those Fire Minion waves, not going for any Phoenixes at all, and already pretty close to halfway done with this Fire Giant buff. Only about 1 minute and 45 seconds left on it. Now that they've got Portal Demon, they might decide that this is their time to try and push down and get this mid-Phoenix in response, but honestly, NRG don't look too keen on pushing up.
And that's what I was asking you. This is, maybe it's not really relevant at all, but do you think you hold on to that Portal Demon for closer to fire respawn, or just go ahead and take it while you got position?
Probably just take it while you've got position, because it's going to respawn around that time anyways, I suppose. It won't be up as soon as Fire Giant is, but it also takes it off the map for Poppies than I use it. Remember, if Poppies had Portal Demon in that last engagement, then they're able to get Portal, come back through, and be there for that Fire Giant contest. Portal being down after their Phoenix Siege was very, very impactful.
They're going to be moving through. There's some vision for Poppies, and we can see them moving as a unit now. They recognize NRG are here in their jungle. This is almost exactly what happened last time. They only had about a minute of the Fire Giant around the actual structures to push in. It looks like, though, as you said, they're not really that interested in trying to fight in to the team from the Poppies, and I kind of get that. At this point in the game, Poppies have way too much AoE.
Yeah, and they were just waiting for their mid-Phoenix to respawn, because if you're fighting underneath that Phoenix and Fire Minions start spawning, then that means that those are tankier minions that can not only do damage to you, but body block your abilities. I mean, there's a lot of abilities that you don't want to get body blocked here, like Death Scythe and Emilitoo's Axe. Things like that won't be as impactful underneath that Phoenix when you've got tanky minions standing in between you and your opposition. So that Fire Giant was really there to keep NRG's mid-Phoenix back up, get it respawned, and NRG would rather fight around this Fire Giant in a neutral objective than underneath the Phoenix of the Poppies. And by the way, a big credit to the Poppies to be in a position like this, and then just literally they have set up tents underneath that mid-Phoenix. They have not moved from their Phoenix route at all in the last 5 minutes during the Fire Giant, basically, of NRG, and that's great patience from them.
But I think they do need to start moving now, and that's what we see them doing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they should give up another Fire Giant here for free aggro.
No, they can take these fights around the neutral objectives. The last team fight, remember, that happened around Fire Giant. Warchi didn't use any of his relics. He dies too early. That means Nazer's more exposed. As long as that team fight goes a little bit better, NRG was very low at that engagement. And now that we're full build, late game, everyone's 6 items slotted except for Dheylo, who's almost there, then now's your opportunity for this team composition, the 5v5, to really shine for the Poppies.
And it looks like Poppies are going to continue slow playing this one. In NRG, they don't want to wait. They're going to move down this mid lane and try and force them out a little bit. Instead, though, they come back towards the Fire Giant, which Poppies look to be okay with letting them have.
This is the power play from NRG. This is the, hey, we've done this before. Have you guys had your seasons on the line and against a really good team and been able to pull it out? Because we've been here before, and they look more comfortable just being the aggressors. It does look like Poppies are willing to give up another Fire Giant. I don't mind this. It's more about how comfortable the Poppies are. If they feel more comfortable defending under the Phoenix against the Fire Giant team than fighting 5v5 in the midst of the jungle, fine by me. You need them to be as comfortable as possible, because there is nothing more uncomfortable than having your Season 4 lives on the line against the defending world champs.
And one thing in Poppies' favor here is it kind of doesn't matter how long it takes. That weakened Phoenix is going to be weakened. And I mean like the protection zone. I mean like how easy it'll be for them to literally just take it down. That's not going to change. So they got their path.
If it's the exact same result where iRaffer and emilitoo fall and Poppies are full health, they end off of that level of a team fight win. It's not going to take a lot.
Yeah, and that's what Poppies are thinking right now. They trust in their Phoenix defense. They trust in forcing NRG to be coming in and taking extra damage. If they can take the 6v5 here, why not do it with the Phoenix being number 6?
That's true. I think the counter argument there is that their Fire Giant contest is very strong, and they
it's
still
almost
want
like a
to
6 for them.
Yeah, they can try and get that Fire Giant and be able to end with less intensity, and as well as you don't have to kill as many people because you're closer to the Fire Giant, so you don't have to worry as much about respawn timers. I think Poppies could have taken a fight by Fire Giant, but I mean, you can certainly understand. You can empathize with them wanting to play this as safely as possible.
And I don't think that we can oversell this one for you. 49 minutes into this game, that's not for no reason. That's because who loses this game goes home. They're done. No Super Regionals, no Worlds, done. And that's what, Poppies don't get a second shot. They don't even get a Season 5 aggro. They gotta win here.
This is NRG pushed to the brink. I mean, they are one team fight away from being done for the season.
And that's what NRG are trying to do now, is they do choose to group up with the Fire Giant and try and make a push. maniaKK going in, looking for some poke. So far, though, Raffer's been their initiator.
Look at where MrNazer and Warchi are split up. One's on left side of the Phoenix, one's on right. They need to do more of that in order to make sure that they can stay safe in these fights. You can't afford just to both get hit by the same initiation.
Raffer going in for the stun on Dracomarino. That wasn't enough for them to go in, though, just yet. maniaKK falling in, but MrNazer has plenty of damage to keep those minions out. Good bounce on the emilitoo, get a little bit of poke, but he should be able to lifesteal that back up.
MrNazer so far back, he can't really find the Stellar Burst to poke down the opposition. It's adapting and the rest of NRG who are going for the poke.
Dracomarino gets a lot of return damage onto him thanks to the stun from Raffer. Still not time just yet for the fight to happen, but NRG are ready to make it happen. maniaKK gets the slow off onto Dheylo. Raffer takes a little bit of poke too, but again, it's iRaffer that I'm set to be the initiator. Supernova comes out, nowhere near as impactful last time. NRG got to be feeling a lot more comfortable without having to worry about MrNazer.
Beautiful Aegis there by emilitoo. That would have killed him if it wasn't for the Aegis between the Stellar Burst and the Supernova. MrNazer can't blame him for that, but just a little bit too jumpy here on this Phoenix defense.
And I don't blame him for looking for that shot too, but again, it didn't quite get the impact they wanted. His Aegis is down though, so that means if Warchi can find some damage onto him, they've got a chance to try and make this one happen. Aggro, everything for NRG on the line right now. A shot at Valence Squadron. Dracomarino's the one that takes a whole lot of damage, but he's still alive at this point. They back off. Sun's out from Warchi without much impact. Landing in the backline is adapting. Dracomarino's out of this one.
Dheylo on trouble as well. Big ultimate from maniaKK, finds 2 with the root. Dheylo's gonna fall. All 5 members of NRG still up here. They're gonna get mid and right side Phoenix.
It feels like it's falling for them all at once. Poppies, you had your chance, and now it's only 3v5. They can still defend it. They still have Warchi, but without Dheylo and Dracomarino, it's gonna be that much harder. Mid Phoenix has fallen. Right Phoenix is about to fall as well. NRG Esports, they're not ready to go home just yet, aggro. They want to win.
They might be able to get left side Phoenix here as well. 45 seconds plus on Dracomarino and Dheylo, but those are the frontliners. Only Creed still left to try and tank up for Warchi and MrNazer. There's a tough call. Do they try and all in underneath this Phoenix or just wait it out for their respawn?
Good stun come out from Warchi, but they just didn't have the damage. Raffer way too tanky at this point in the game. One more time though, Raffer goes in for the stun of MrNazer. Belly flops Creed and MrNazer. Follow up from Yammyn's real good. Intoxicate is enough. Adapting in the backline, cleans him up, deletes Warchi, not quite. Aegis enough to keep him all the way back to the base, up into the air, looking to land on him. maniaKK's enough, and Creed falls as well. It's a full deicide in favor of NRG. World champions, they're not going home just yet.
And exhale. NRG moves on in 51 hard-fought minutes against the Poppies. That is as close of a best of 3 as you will see. The Poppies were this close to ending NRG's season, and wow. I mean, that is an absolutely insane set. NRG now has to somehow take a breath, refocus, and now play a really good team in Valence Squadron.
Yeah, if I'm Valence Squadron and you just watch Poppies take NRG to the brink in Game 3, maybe you're feeling a little bit better about your chances. Clearly, there are some areas you can exploit against this NRG roster, but there's something to be said for going all the way to the edge, keeping your team on the line, and now you're ready to keep going. So they're the ones that are warmed up.
I'll tell you what, Valence better come out swinging, because you know NRG is ramped up. You know they're mad that it took them that long to beat the Poppies in a best of 3. You know that they're going to be ready to go in this set. So Valence cannot afford to come out flat-footed in this Game 1 against NRG, because NRG is going to try and just crush them right away. They have to get some momentum going right away.
And Poppies are going to have a long time to think about the way that game ended there, aggro. Was it the right call to let NRG push in with those Fire Giants? I think it's 50-50. Yeah. I think it's just a matter of which one they felt a little bit more comfortable with doing, and they got a while to think about it.
I mean, hindsight's 20/20. It's tough to say whether that was the right call or not.
Yep.
NRG end up making the plays necessary, and even in that situation, you know, you still felt like NRG is still NRG, man. They're still at a 2-time defending world champions. It's incredibly hard to get them even to that point. Poppies decide to play it safe, ends up costing them. MrNazer just a little bit too quick on that ultimate in back-to-back situations underneath those Phoenixes. I can't give anything but credit to the Poppies, though. I mean, that was a phenomenal set from them.
They played excellently, and don't forget, that's only set 1 of the EU side of things. We got another game coming up for EU, then we got to go through NA, so things are looking crazy in the Gauntlet. Go ahead and take your bathroom break, because we got the next game coming up for you.
But there's something holding on the way we